I can't do this, Kai. Not anymore. Her voice, flat and devoid of warmth, carved a cold canyon through my chest, slicing through the carefully constructed facade of my life. This marriage, it's just a stand-in. And no matter how much you try, you'll never truly be him. The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd anticipated them. They were Elara's, spoken on the eve of our wedding, just as news broke that Ethan, the man she'd idolized, her first love, was newly divorced and back in town. I didn't respond, didn't argue. Instead, I simply turned and walked away. The silence that followed was deafening, a prelude to the storm I knew was coming. That night, I stripped away the carefully cultivated image I'd worn for 3 years. I dyed my hair back to its original sun-streaked blonde, pulled on the worn leather jacket that had once been my second skin, and unearthed the old motorcycle, the one that had carried me through countless races and endless nights. It was time to return to the real battlefield, the one where I truly belonged. Later, I heard Elara complaining to her friends, her voice laced with disdain. How could any woman ever love someone so lazy and irresponsible? She'd fumed, painting a caricature of the man I'd pretended to be. Then, weeks later, a photo began to circulate across social media, igniting a wildfire of speculation. It showed me on my motorcycle, my arm wrapped tightly around a woman whose pale hand rested casually on my chest. The raw desire, the undeniable connection between us, practically surged out of the frame. That's when Elara called, her voice sharp with accusation. Kai, who is that woman? But it wasn't my voice that answered her. Instead, a low, captivating female voice purred into the receiver. Hello, Elara. Allow me to introduce myself. I am his wife. A month before our scheduled wedding, I'd gone to the jeweler's to pick up our custom-made rings. We'd both participated in the design, but Elara had chosen the intricate style and the engraving inside. In a quiet back room, I looked down at the tiny, intertwined initials, WM, and a chilling sense of unease settled over me. Just then, I overheard 2 women chatting outside the room. Hey, did you hear? Elara's first love, Ethan, just got divorced and moved back, one whispered excitedly. The other replied, I remember how devastated she was 3 years ago when they broke up. If Kai hadn't appeared and helped her through it, I don't think she ever would have recovered. The first woman chuckled. Kai, you mean the infamous playboy from the city? The one who used to race all the time and live a reckless life? Yeah, that's the one. It's actually kind of funny how someone like that completely changed for Elara. A real bad boy turned good story. Their voices dropped, hushed with anticipation. But now Ethan's back. Do you really think the wedding will still happen? The invitations have already gone out. If they cancel now, Kai will be the biggest laughingstock in the entire elite circle. As their voices faded, I stared at the engraved WM. A bitter taste filled my mouth. I called Elara, but she didn't answer. Through the distorted background noise, I could still make out her voice. He has no ambition. He can't even compare to Ethan. Someone in her group protested. Come on, Elara, that's a bit much. He's rich enough. What more ambition does he need? Besides, Kai used to be so wild, and he changed so much for you. You can't expect everything to be perfect. Elara's cold laugh cut through the chatter. Changed? How much? For 3 years, he's been circling me like a loyal puppy, and finally, he got me to agree to marry him. Another asked, Don't you even like Kai? Her voice turned to ice. Do you like dogs? The air went silent. Then, her sardonic laugh. To tame a wild wolf into an obedient dog, it just proves how good I am at training. I hung up, looked at the man in the mirror, the one in the perfectly tailored suit, the one with the respectable haircut. I laughed a hollow, bitter sound. This obedient, foolish version of myself. I'd had enough. Elara hadn't been home for a week. I was busy listing our shared house on the market. Every brick, every tile in that house I'd bought myself, but now I wanted nothing to do with it. After finalizing the paperwork, I received a call from her. She wanted to meet. Despite being the one who initiated the meeting, she arrived late, accompanied by a tall, slender man with an air of refined elegance, Ethan. He bore a striking resemblance to me. maybe about 5 parts out of 10. Ethan held Elara's hand tightly, as if afraid someone might hurt her. His entire demeanor radiated a protective, possessive intensity. The atmosphere immediately grew heavy. No one spoke, all eyes on me. I silently looked down at the frayed red string bracelet on my wrist, almost worn through. A faint, bitter smile touched my lips. Finally, Elara stepped forward. Kai, I don't want to get married anymore. I met her gaze, my voice calm. You want to call off the wedding? She leaned into Ethan's chest, her eyes softening, her voice barely a whisper, filled with a feigned pity that made my stomach churn. Ethan is back, and I don't want to settle anymore. No matter how much you try to be like him, you'll never be him. She added, her tone flat, but each word a sharp blade. Now, what do you understand? I don't love you. I nodded slightly. Understood. She stared, surprised by my composure. After a brief pause, she continued. You know our engagement was arranged by our families. I've loved Ethan for 5 years, waited for him for 3. Now that he's back, I don't need to keep torturing myself. My patience wore thin. I frowned. Are you finished? Elara hesitated for a few seconds. My family will handle our side. You handle yours. The wedding is off. I gave a curt reply. Fine. Then I stood up and walked toward the door. My hand was on the doorknob when she called out, Kai. I turned. She stood rooted to her spot, but her hand, hanging loosely by her side, trembled with a clenched intensity. Is there anything else? I asked. She frowned. Don't you have anything to say to me? I paused. A part of me wanted to say that I envied her, that the person she loved had returned, while the person I loved could never come back. But I swallowed the words, offering only, congratulations on getting what you wanted. As I closed the door, I heard the murmurs from inside. No way. Is that all his reaction is? Elara, didn't you say he was madly in love with you? He looks like he doesn't care at all. Elara's annoyed voice cut through. Can you all just shut up? I didn't look back. I should have realized it long ago. No matter how much Elara resembled her, she would never truly be that person. The girl who would never abandon me, never fall into someone else's arms. After leaving the meeting, I headed straight for a barbershop. I told them to cut off the side-parted hairstyle I'd maintained for the past 3 years. As my natural, light blonde hair reappeared in the mirror, I felt like I was finally returning to myself. On my wrist, I had a new tattoo etched, Jamais recolor, never retreat. Then, I went to a place I hadn't set foot in for 3 years, my old garage. Finn, my old friend and mechanic, rolled out my bike. A shirtless mechanic emerged from the workshop. Seeing me, he froze, his eyes reddening. It took him a few seconds to stammer, Kai. I nodded. It's me. He looked me up and down, still incredulous. What are you doing here? I glanced at the 2 motorcycles parked prominently, one black, one white. Still here? I asked, a faint smile touching my lips. He nodded emphatically. I clean them every day. Both are like new. You can take them out any time. Should I call the crew? I shook my head. No need. Bring out mine. I want to ride alone. He nodded gently. All right. The moment I swung my leg over the seat, a familiar sensation coursed through me, as if I had come alive again. It had been so long since I'd ridden. It was as if, by staying away from this motorcycle, I could pretend that summer never happened. I turned to look at the other bike, the white Kawasaki, and remembered her. Finn caught my gaze, his eyes reddening again. His voice choked. I'm still waiting for Anna, too. Little Whitey is still there, untouched. I always keep it next to your bike, thinking maybe one day both of you will ride out together again like before. He looked up, his voice soft. Kai, it's been 3 years. If I could wait for you to come back, do you think she could come back too? I paused. 3 years. It really had been 3 years. Finn continued, his voice hoarse. They say if you hear a clock ticking backward 1,000 times, you'll see the person you miss. I've done it, but Anna still hasn't returned. I turned away, my nose burning, but forced a smile. That's just a comforting tale. The dead don't return. Then I started my engine. What Finn didn't know was that I had heard that particular song 10,000 times, yet Anna had never appeared. I rode straight to the top of the mountain. Looking down at the sprawling city below, I screamed into the night. Anna, I did everything you told me. I settled down, built a career, even prepared to marry someone else. So why haven't you come back? You said you'd show me in your wedding dress, but in the end, I can't even see your shadow anymore. Tears streamed down my face. I mumbled, damn it, the wind's too strong. It's blowing into my eyes. The silver moonlight bathed the ground, casting an unusually gentle glow over everything. Behind me, a soft rustle in the grass. I spun around, no one, just the chirping of crickets in the night. After regaining my composure, I rode back down the mountain. But when I reached the garage, I discovered the white Kawasaki was gone. Finn, I jumped off my bike, yelling towards the workshop. Where's the bike? Who took it? Behind me, a piercing motorcycle horn blared. My heart pounded faster than ever. I took a deep breath, then turned around. Under the faint streetlights, Anna stood casually leaning against the white motorcycle. Her form-fitting leather gear accentuated her sharp, strong, and wild contours, just as they always had been. She raised an eyebrow, a slight curve to her lips. What? Was the wind that strong? She teased, her voice audacious and playful. That was the voice that used to both infuriate and enchant me. A reckless, stubborn girl who always made my heart tremble. In that moment, I felt as if time had rewound back to the very first time I met Anna. That day, my parents were arguing again. They always argued, simply because I refused to live by their rules. They had been physically harsh with me. I just said one thing: stop torturing each other. Wouldn't it be better if you just divorced? But to them, it seemed an unforgivable sin. I ran, not knowing where to go, only wanting to escape that suffocating house. As I struggled to hold everything in, I heard a lazy voice behind me. Hey, handsome, crying alone out here? I spun around, snapping, don't talk nonsense. The wind's strong, that's all. Got in my eyes. She chuckled, her lips curling slightly. Classic trying to act tough. Anna sat down beside me, propping her chin on one hand, then handed me a tissue. She said softly, that heavy feeling of loneliness, huh? You don't know me, I don't know you. So let me just be a silent listener for a while. We were 14 then. I didn't tell her what had happened, but she sat beside me all afternoon. Later, I learned she was a student from the school next door, a problem child whom every teacher feared. Rumors whispered that she was a child born out of wedlock without a father. Perhaps it was fate. Gradually, we grew closer. She introduced me to her friends, showed me their secret hangouts, and told me, just be yourself, Kai. Because out there, there's someone who will love you exactly as you are. When I was sad or fought with my family, she would always appear out of nowhere, saying, you're not alone. She even stood up for me, confronting those who spread rumors that I was a delinquent. She once told me, Kai, good and bad are relative. As long as your choices don't harm anyone, don't go against what's truly right. No one has the right to judge you. You are you, and that's enough. In return, I always protected her from the insults, the whispers calling her an outcast. When she cried, I stayed by her side, holding her close as she poured out all her frustrations. I told her, Anna, you don't need to be anyone else. No one has the right to force you to do something even the law doesn't require. Your very existence is meaningful. We were like two lost souls at sea, finally finding the same piece of driftwood to cling to. Our feelings for each other deepened. After high school, we fell in love. That night, our whole crew rode our bikes up the mountain, screaming our joy into the starry sky to celebrate our 18th birthdays. While everyone was still making noise behind us, I grabbed her hand, and we ran together into the vast night, only our breaths and laughter echoing. She laughed and asked, Kai, doesn't this feel like we're running away together? I still remember that summer vividly. The fullest moon, the brightest stars, the loudest cicadas, and the most sincere eyes of an 18-year-old girl. Under the starry sky, we embraced and kissed. In that moment, I believed this happiness would never end. Anna, my voice trembled, even my body shook slightly. You're finally back. She looked at me, half smiling, half reprimanding. Look at you, so weak. I'm right here. I took a quick step towards her, but just then, Finn rode his motorcycle closer. Kai, what's wrong? He asked. Didn't Anna always say her bike and your bike would never be lonely? When I saw you ride off, I was going to. My voice caught in my throat, my heart pounding so hard, I felt my chest might explode. Bring out little Whitey. Start her up now. Finn's words made me freeze. It was all just a hallucination. I turned my back to him, rubbing my forehead. They often say, you shouldn't meet someone too radiant when you're young, because after that, everyone else you meet will seem dull. Perhaps I was just too stubborn, too obsessed. 3 years had passed, yet I still couldn't face reality, still foolishly prayed for a miracle I knew would never happen. When I returned home, everyone was waiting. The moment my mother saw my light hair and leather jacket, she erupted in a furious tirade. Look at you. What have you become? Not a trace of the Kyler family's dignity left. No wonder Elara called off the engagement. I stood at the doorway, suddenly unwilling to step inside. I turned to leave, but my father's voice, sharp and cutting, stopped me. Where do you think you're going? Get back here. Call the Suttons. Apologize to them. Tell them it was your immaturity, your thoughtlessness, and ask them not to hold a grudge. He continued, his voice heavy with pressure. The invitations have all gone out. You can't just cancel a wedding like this. And another thing, go wash your hair immediately. Get rid of that ridiculous color. Dressed like that, who would dare marry their daughter to you? I slowly walked closer, looked at them, and gave a faint smile. Why should I apologize? She's the one who said she couldn't accept it. She wanted to go back to her old love, so she called off the engagement. I merely agreed. What did I do wrong? Slap. My father lunged, hitting me across the face. You idiot, he roared. You're a man. She's a woman. Why stoop to arguing with her? She was unreasonable, but you're even more foolish. Do you have a brain? Do you think the Suttons will let their daughter marry a man who's been divorced? My cheek burned, but I stood my ground. He continued to rant. I regret letting you manage the company. You should handle everything calmly and shrewdly, but you've ruined it all. So what if she betrayed you? In this world, who doesn't just turn a blind eye? As long as the child carries the Kyler name, as long as you maintain the benefits from the Sutton family, what is there to be angry about? I tilted my head, pressing my tongue against my cheek, and smiled coldly. You two can live that way, but I'm sorry I can't. My father's chest heaved. He snatched a glass from the table and hurled it at me. You useless wretch. That despicable woman died 3 years ago, and you still haven't moved on. What good fortune did I have to sire such a worthless son? Kai, he bellowed, his voice hoarse. I'll say it again. This marriage will not be canceled. Even if you die, you must leave the Kyler family an heir first. I didn't dodge in time. The glass grazed my forehead, leaving a cut above my eyebrow. Blood welled up. In that moment, memories flooded back. After Anna fell from the cliff, I sank into a deep depression. I had even sought death, only to be found and saved by the staff. My parents called me ungrateful. They said, you're the son of a wealthy family, born into luxury. How can you go mad like this? Perhaps they were right, or perhaps not, but just as I never understood them, they never understood me. I could never become like my father, the kind of person who would do anything for profit. Nor could I be like my mother, who always feigned emotions just to save face. I had always believed that people should have moral limits, even towards employees or enemies. There should be a stopping point. And perhaps I never understood them because, from a young age, I knew each of them had separate lives outside our family. So I never understood why. If they didn't love each other, they had me. Then, when the company faced a crisis, they decided I had to marry the Sutton's daughter. I refused. They threw a photo in my face, a picture of Elara. Don't act like a noble martyr, they said. If you really don't want to live, then just die. I looked down at the photo in my hand. For a fleeting moment, I thought Anna had returned. The two women were so similar, especially their eyes. Like a drowning man finding a last flicker of hope, I agreed to meet Elara, on the condition that my father would begin to transfer some power in the company to me, to prove that I had matured. So, I completely changed my image. I wanted to be with Elara. Just her face was enough to make me accept it. I didn't expect Elara to be the one to proactively leave her contact information. She initiated it, and that's how we ended up together. It was only later that I realized she was just using me as a substitute. We were, in fact, only using each other to fill the void in our hearts. She told me to quit smoking, and I did. She wanted me to learn to cook, and I learned. She liked a villa, and I bought it. She forbade me from riding motorcycles, and I obeyed. In the eyes of others, Kai, once wild and rebellious, had reformed for love. I loved her so much that I almost lost myself, so much that even Elara believed I truly loved her. But in reality, I only loved that face, because when I looked at it, I saw Anna as if she had never left. I endured her pushing my boundaries, time and again, only because when I looked at her, I imagined Anna was still by my side. It wasn't until the person she truly loved, Ethan, returned that I woke from my dream. No matter how similar their faces were, Elara would never be Anna. Before going to bed, I unexpectedly received a call from Elara. "Your parents called mine," she said. I suddenly remembered that tonight I had posted my first photo in 3 years, the one of me on my motorcycle. Below it, a friend had commented, "Kai took me for a ride. It was awesome." Not long after, Elara had replied, "What kind of woman could love a man who only knows how to waste his life like that?" I called her back. "Don't worry," I said. "This marriage isn't just something you don't want. I don't want it anymore either." Even as I said it, a hollow feeling settled in my heart. I knew I would never again see the gentle gaze she had once reserved for me. She was silent for a moment, then gave a faint, cold scoff. "Kai, I'm not anyone's accessory. If you want to marry me, you have to accept the situation with Ethan and me. Don't expect me to be yours alone, understand?" Then she added, her voice indifferent, "Anyway, this marriage is just to please our parents. You love me so much, I'll agree to marry you, but that's all." I gently twisted the bracelet engraved with our initials, a faint, bitter smile on my face. "Elara, if you're really going to marry me, does Ethan know about this?" She didn't answer, only her ragged breathing and a slight tremor on the other end of the line. I spoke slowly. "Elara, I know you're using me as a substitute for Ethan. The funny thing is, I'm doing the same." I nodded, thinking of Anna's radiant smile. "You know when you resemble her the most? It's when you say nothing and just look at me. Even though I know in that gaze, you don't see me, but someone else, I don't care. Just seeing that face was enough to make me happy." My voice dropped, calm and steady. "So, even though you made me change, forced me to do things I didn't want, I couldn't even be angry with you. But just as you said, I'm not him. And no matter how similar you two are, you're not her. We've used each other as substitutes. I don't owe you anything, and I don't love you. So let's call off this wedding." Before I could finish, Elara hung up. I took 2 sleeping pills. Only in dreams could I meet Anna again. Could I return to our 4 wild years? After college exams, in front of all our friends, we could finally be open about our relationship. Do you know that feeling? Walking hand in hand with the person you love down the street. Watching movies together without needing to speak. Just sitting side by side, the atmosphere turning sweet. We would ride our motorcycles together again, speeding through the open world. Finn once said, "Kai and Anna are the most perfect couple I've ever seen. Just standing next to each other. They look like they were born for each other." People around us said we looked like a couple straight out of a romance movie. Anna would just laugh and tell them to keep talking. I leaned against my bike, watching our friends laugh and tease each other. Later, when we both enrolled in the same university, we formed a motorcycle team and competed in amateur races together. Honestly, she was truly captivating. The name Anna always appeared on the school's love confession wall, and after every class, several guys would be waiting for her at the gate to confess their feelings. Afraid I would get jealous, she went to the school radio station that very day and publicly announced, "I, Anna, am dating Kai." Many people gossiped that we wouldn't last long, but who would have thought we would be together for 4 years? Until my parents found out. They were furious, demanding I come home immediately and ordering me to break up with her. That wild girl isn't worthy of the Kyler family. I refused. My father, enraged, grabbed a cane intending to hit me. I snatched it from him and shouted, "Don't force me to fight back. You both have separate lives. You've never cared about me once all these years. What right do you have now to interfere in my life? Who are you to tell me how to live? I'm sick of your hypocrisy. What am I in your eyes? Just a tool to carry on this family name, right?" My father gritted his teeth. "I am your father. I gave you life, so you will never escape the fate of Kyler." My mother shrieked. "We spoiled him too much. That's why he dares to speak so disrespectfully. Did that hussy teach you to say those things?" While she was still yelling, Anna appeared at the door. She walked in, stood in front of me, her eyes calm and fearless. "All these years," she said, "you've never cared about him, never let him feel any affection. Yet now you want him to be grateful, to obey you? For what reason? He is the person I love most. You may not love him, but I do." My mother angrily raised her hand to strike her. I immediately pushed my mother away. That day, I took Anna's hand and left that house. We sat in silence together all night, neither of us speaking a word. We promised that we would get married after graduation. But then, before we graduated, strange things began to happen. I felt like I was being followed for no clear reason. Every time I walked down the corridor, potted plants would fall from upper floors, barely missing my head. And Anna began to change. Her eyes were distant. Her mind seemed to be somewhere far away. One day, she suddenly asked me, "If one day I disappeared, what would you do?" I shrugged, answering casually, "Die with you." I wasn't joking. Before 14, I had no family, no friends, just a lost, rebellious kid. I didn't know what it meant to live until I met her. Anna was my only salvation. I couldn't imagine this world without her. She shook her head gently. "Don't say that. Even if I disappear, you have to live well, find someone who loves you, get married, have children. Promise me, okay?" I held her close, smiling. "Stop talking nonsense. The only thing I'll do my whole life is put a wedding dress on you. I won't marry anyone else." She pouted, feigning anger. "Stop joking. I'm serious." I laughed. "Why so serious? Don't tell me you have someone else." She choked, then laughed softly. "What are you saying? Of course not." I laughed louder. "Good. Otherwise, I'll marry someone else, and you'll regret it your whole life." She glared, poked my forehead with her finger, laughing and pouting. "If you really marry someone else, and the bride isn't me, I'll wear a wedding dress and crash your wedding." Later, when I proposed to Anna, she said if I could beat her in a race, she would agree to marry me. I nodded immediately, promising with all my heart that I would win. I wanted to use the trophy and the ring to propose to her amidst the cheers of the crowd. But I never imagined that race day would be the journey from which she would never return. In my dream, the scene shifted to a misty forest. I sped towards the finish line, remembering only the roaring cheers, the scorching heat of summer, and the huge screen displaying the news. Anna has fallen off the cliff. Amidst the flames and chaos, the world around me became an infinite silence. Anna. I woke with a start, my shirt drenched in sweat. My phone rang. It was Finn. "Kai, there's a race on the mountain road tonight. Want to go?" I gasped, then answered yes. "I'll be there." It wasn't my usual racetrack, but perhaps it was time to move forward. Finn added, "It's a small one, but there's a big competition in a few days. Are you in?" I looked up at the ceiling, a faint smile on my lips. Yes. Maya and the others already left. I leaned against my motorcycle, lit a cigarette, and said, "All right, I need to practice anyway. I'm in." Finn chuckled. "I heard a few famous racers are joining this time, especially a female rider from abroad. She's really good, but no one's ever seen her face because she always wears a helmet. If I meet her, I'm definitely asking for an autograph." I exhaled a puff of smoke, teasing, "Look at you, a real fanboy. All right, I'll win the trophy and give it to you." Finn's eyes reddened slightly. He smiled. "Kai, seeing you like this, I'm truly happy for you." I clapped him on the shoulder, took a final drag from my cigarette, and turned my head. I saw Elara. Our eyes met, and I could clearly see the wavering light in her eyes. "Kai." I hadn't intended to reply, just to stub out my cigarette, but she stepped forward and grasped my sleeve. Can we talk? She stood before me, the streetlight behind her casting half her face in shadow. I silently looked at her, her face heartbreakingly familiar, yet regrettably, she wasn't Anna. Don't look at me like that, she said, her voice trembling. Then, suddenly, she raised her voice. Kai, did you dare to trick me? She was so angry her whole body shook, but I had no idea what she was talking about. I simply brushed her hand away, slowly saying, Elara, shouldn't you be happy? She frowned, blocking my path, her voice full of indignation. Happy? You used me as a substitute, and you think I should be happy? Kai, do you have any conscience left? Her eyes blazed, her lips quivering. No wonder, no wonder. You always looked at me as if you had found something you lost. No wonder you kept looking at me like that. I thought you truly loved me. I was foolish enough to agree to the arranged marriage between our families. I really am an idiot. I waited for her to finish, then replied softly, Elara, didn't you also use me as a substitute? The person you truly love has returned. You don't need to keep torturing yourself because of me. This game of substitutes, it's over. She took another step, her gaze unwavering. But even as a substitute, didn't you gradually move past your past because of me? Would you have done that if it were for her? I was silent for a moment, then spoke the truth. No, I remembered Anna's words. If the bride isn't me, I'll wear a wedding dress and crash your wedding. That was the last obsession I allowed myself to keep. Elara pressed her lips together, her voice hoarse. So you never liked me at all? I looked directly at her, my voice calm. You didn't like me, and I didn't like you. Isn't that fair? She bit her lip, pausing mid-sentence, then burst out with venomous words. Fair? Don't dream, Kai. In my eyes, you're nothing but an obedient dog by my side. The wedding is in 6 days. You'll regret this day. I replied softly, I won't regret it. With my bags packed, I boarded a flight to Shanghai. There were only 4 days left until the wedding, yet my parents still hadn't canceled it. They still clung to the hope that Elara and I could reconcile. I looked down at the red string bracelet I had worn for 7 years. I silently thought that after the race, I would cut all ties, even with my empty family. I finally understood that some parents truly don't love their children, and I had learned to accept that. Finn met me at the airport, driving me to the hotel. I heard that female racer is staying at this hotel too, he said. Maybe we'll run into her. I chuckled. Now you're really a fanboy, huh? He scratched his head. No, it's just, her riding style reminds me of Anna. My breath hitched. The silent moment that followed was awkward for both of us. Finn quickly changed the subject. Oh, Kai, a lot of old friends are joining this race. They'll be happy to see you back. When I arrived at the track, I indeed saw many familiar faces. Most were Anna's old friends, people who had once been lost, but whom she had pulled out of the darkness, giving them new purpose. Finn nudged my shoulder, pointing into the distance. Look, little Whitey. Not far away, someone sat on the white motorcycle. They were a bit far, so I couldn't see clearly, but as I looked in their direction, that person also happened to turn their head. The lights glinted off the helmet, and my heart seemed to stop. A jolt of familiar feeling, like a lightning bolt, struck my chest. My hands trembled, my heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst from my ribs. Finn laughed, shouting, Kai, we're all counting on you. As the countdown for the race began, my eyes locked onto the white motorcycle ahead. Suddenly, memories from 3 years ago flooded back. The fateful race before everything collapsed. Before the start, Anna had told me, if you beat me, I'll marry you. I had promised her, with all the conviction in the world, that I would win, that I would hold the trophy and the ring, proposing to her amidst the cheering crowd. The engines roared to life in unison. Finn shouted something, but I couldn't hear him. In that moment, there was only one thing in my eyes, a faint white streak ahead. Whoever it was, I had to know the face behind that helmet. As the clock hit 0, I shot forward like an arrow from a bow, pushing ahead with every fiber of my being. The wind screamed in my ears like 1,000 warhorses charging at once. I twisted the throttle, pushing it to the absolute limit. My fingers were numb from the vibration, my breath thick with the smell of burning fuel. A sharp curve appeared ahead. The screech of tires on the asphalt strained every nerve. Instinctively, I leaned, hugged the curve, cut in, and then accelerated, surging forward. My vision narrowed to only the white streak ahead. Her taillights flashed once, and I relentlessly closed the gap. My heartbeat synchronized with that pulsating red light, rapid and urgent. The whole world blurred, leaving only the roar of the engine and mottled white and gray. A little more, almost there. I could feel my blood surging through my veins. At the final curve, she slowed down, but I didn't. In that moment, I didn't know if I wanted to win or just prove that she was real. The checkered flag waved in the wind, cheers echoing through the stands. My tires left long black streaks on the road, the entire motorcycle vibrating violently. I stopped, the heat inside my helmet stifling. Victory tasted of gasoline and rebirth. But then I looked at the screen. I was the champion, and the name of the female racer was displayed as a foreign name. We were led to the backstage area. I tightened my helmet strap, then stepped in front of her, blocking her path. I knew I was being rude, but I had to see that face. "Can I watch you take off your helmet?" I asked. She stood still, saying nothing. Even her build was identical. My heart pounded furiously, my chest felt like it would explode. Finally, she spoke softly, "I'm sorry." Just 2 words, and everything around me suddenly grew cold. It wasn't her. Of course, how could it be Anna? I remember that summer day when she asked, "If one day I disappeared, what would you do?" And I had laughed, replying, "Die with you." But I hadn't. I bowed my head, my lips trembling, each breath fractured. So it really was over. The last glimmer of hope had vanished. I turned to leave, but then someone took my hand. I started, my gaze following the slender fingers to her wrist. There, a red string bracelet, faded and worn, identical to mine. My mind went blank. She slowly raised her hand and removed her helmet, and I saw the face I had dreamed of for 3 years. That smile, those eyes, that warmth. Anna. My Anna. I had missed her so much it drove me mad, but when I opened my mouth, I couldn't utter a single sound. Now I understood what it meant to be so overwhelmed with emotion you couldn't speak. 3 years had passed. She was almost unchanged, yet in the soft golden light, something was different. Why were my eyes blurring? Under the stage lights, she stood there as if surrounded by a soft halo. She squinted, smiling. Trying to act tough? Her voice was teasingly gentle. "What's wrong? Now you're pretending you don't recognize me." I couldn't hold back anymore. I pulled her into my arms, holding her so tightly I trembled, laughing and crying. "Damn it! Why are you so late?" She chuckled softly, whispering in my ear. "I heard you were getting married, and the bride wasn't me, so of course." She looked up, her eyes sparkling. "I came back to crash the wedding." She wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me. In that kiss, I felt her faint tremble and the suppressed, choked breath hidden deep in her voice. I held her tight, desperate, as if loosening my grip even slightly would make her vanish into thin air again. I was too tired. Even if this was just an illusion, I was willing to dream a little longer. She bit her lip lightly, whispering, "I'm sorry. I promised that if you won, I would marry you, but I broke that promise for 3 years." Anna's eyes softened. She asked gently, "Are you mad at me?" I shook my head. "No. How could I be mad at you? As long as you're back, I don't need anything else. I only need you." That day, at the award ceremony, I handed the championship trophy to Anna. As I looked at her, the image of the woman before me slowly merged with the girl from all those years ago. A proposal 3 years late, but finally a complete ending. That night, we transformed all the years of longing, anguish, and yearning into breath, into movement. Again and again, we rediscovered each other through sweat and tears, holding each other as if to compensate for the long years of separation. Exhausted as we were, neither of us wanted to stop. Finally, she lay nestled in my arms and began to tell me everything that had happened over the past years. Her story was incredible, even dramatic to the point of being almost unbelievable. It turned out that the reason Anna and Elara were so similar was because they were, in fact, half-sisters. Anna's mother had once been the heiress of a wealthy family, who fell in love with a common man, Anna's father. But Elara's mother had intervened, seducing Anna's father and becoming pregnant, thus usurping the position of legal wife. Unable to bear such betrayal, Anna's mother left, only to later discover she was also pregnant. Later, when Elara's mother learned of their existence, she used her influence to quietly oppress and sideline them. That pressure gradually made Anna's mother bitter and resentful, living only for the desire for revenge. She controlled Anna, forcing her to go abroad to help her uncle expand his business, which was, in reality, to undermine the Sutton family. But Anna refused because of me, so her mother shifted her target to me. Now, I understood that the times I was followed, pursued by strangers for no reason, all originated from this. Anna was terrified then. She begged her mother not to harm me. But the woman, consumed by hatred, gave her only one choice: leave this place forever. And so, they staged a fake accident. Anna was taken abroad, living anonymously for 3 years. During those 3 years, she barely slept more than a few hours each day, driven by the urgency to return and find me. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "You don't know how much I missed you." She recounted everything as if speaking of someone else, of the months she struggled to prove herself, to escape her mother's control, of her fear that merely contacting me would put me in danger. Her story lasted only a few dozen minutes, but I could feel how long and harsh those 3 years had been for her. She held me tight, and I clutched her in my arms as if to fuse her into my very bones. Anna's voice was choked. "Every time I missed you so much it drove me mad. I would press the tip of the pen gently into my wrist and tell myself, 'Hurry, hurry, Kai is still waiting for me.' He said he would win the trophy to propose to me. He's stubborn. He'll definitely wait forever." That's why I threw myself into my studies, slowly breaking free from my mother's control, until I could stand before you as I am now. Her tears dried, then flowed again, as if all the emotions suppressed for 3 years were gushing out at once. I gently stroked her cheek, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. "Anna, marry me?" 3 days before the planned wedding, I took Anna to register our marriage. When the seals stamped down in the middle of our photo, she burst into tears, yet she smiled. Through her sobs, she laughed and said, "I'm sorry for being so late." I quickly wiped away her tears, gently lifted her face and said softly, "As long as you're the one at the finish line, being late doesn't matter." At that exact moment, a photo began circulating through our social circles. It showed 2 people on a motorcycle, a pale hand resting on the man's chest, while his arm was wrapped tightly around the woman's waist. The image practically burned with raw intensity. It had been taken by Finn and some others after the race that day. No one knew how it got out, but even industry insiders had seen it. When the photo was posted in a group chat, comments immediately exploded. "Wait, that guy looks exactly like Kai. No way. Don't tell me Kai changed this much. Or are they long-lost brothers?" Another person added, "He really looks like the old Kai." Someone in the group commented, "And the girl in the picture looks so much like Elara. Since when does she ride motorcycles?" Another replied, "It's not Elara. I heard she's a female racer from abroad." "Honestly," someone else added, "they look great together." Then another person chimed in, "But didn't Elara say yesterday that Kai would regret it before the wedding, that he would beg her to marry him?" Another person replied with a sneer, "Huh, so Elara thought Kai would die without her? Turns out, she was the substitute all along." While Anna was trying on her wedding dress in the bridal suite, I received a call from Elara. Her voice was cold. "Kai, who is she?" Anna looked at me, gave a lazy smile, then took the phone from my hand. She put the receiver to her ear, speaking in a soft yet utterly arrogant tone. "Hello, former fiancé. Allow me to introduce myself. I am his legal wife." That night, Anna, the crew, and I gathered on the mountain road. We rode our beloved motorcycles together, soaring to the mountaintop once more. Laughter and tears mingled in the night wind. From behind, Anna squeezed my hand. The feeling transported me back to that summer when I was 18. I laughed, shouting into the wind, "Anna, how about we run away together again?" Her eyes sparkled in the night. This time, she was the one who grabbed my hand, and we both ran through the summer night. Her laughter echoed behind me. She stood on her tiptoes, lightly kissing the corner of my mouth. But I was quicker, wrapping my arms around her waist, pulling her into a deep, tender, passionate kiss, both familiar and burning, as if for the first time. Nothing compared to the joy of finding each other after so many broken years. That kiss seemed to mend our foolish youth, to erase the years we had lost our way, so that our love could once again be whole. I don't know if what we found was salvation or redemption for each other. I only know that in every journey of life, love is always the truest answer and the greatest thing of all. We gathered at Finn's garage, drinking and singing until midnight. It wasn't until dawn began to break that everyone passed out, sprawled across the floor in various positions. I looked around, smiling faintly. I really loved this atmosphere. Noisy, real, full of life. I intended to step outside for some fresh mountain air, but to my surprise, I saw Elara. She sat beneath a streetlight, looking exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her face pale. I didn't know when she arrived or how long she'd been sitting there, nor did I understand what she wanted. Truth be told, I didn't want to see her again, but before I could turn away, she stood up and blocked my path. "Ka," she said, her voice hoarse. "Let's get married." She pulled out a set of marriage registration papers from her jacket. I didn't understand what game she was playing. I merely stepped back slightly, raising my hand to reveal my wedding ring. "Elara, I'm already married." She froze, stunned. After a moment, her voice came out shaky. "You married that rebellious girl?" I nodded. Her face turned pale with anger. She snapped. "How could you marry someone you only met a few days ago? Why does she get to, and I don't?" She stopped mid-sentence, her voice softening. She bit her lip, staring at me. "I haven't told my family about canceling the wedding yet. Can we just go ahead with the ceremony as planned in 2 days?" I gently shook my head. "This wedding won't be canceled. Only the bride will change." She stiffened, then gave a bitter laugh. "How ironic. If your wife knew she was just a substitute, she'd leave you in an instant." "Kai, don't be foolish. I'm the best choice for you." Elara didn't know that Anna was the person I had loved from beginning to end. Just then, a clear female voice rang out from behind me. "Don't worry, we won't get divorced." I turned. Anna stepped forward, wrapping her arm around mine, standing on tiptoes to kiss my lips. Her smile was gentle, yet cold. "Because traitors belong in hell." Elara looked at the face so similar to her own, remaining silent for a long time. She said nothing further, only turned and walked away, her figure lonely and desolate, as if she had just lost the entire world. 2 days before the wedding, Anna and I were busy revising the guest list, choosing only our truly close friends. We wanted the ceremony to be intimate and warm, just for us. Both of us were exhausted after days of nonstop preparations when I unexpectedly received a call from Ethan. His voice on the other end was weak, with a hint of pleading. "Can you visit Elara? She's been drinking for days and has a stomach ulcer. She's in the hospital now." I frowned, my voice cold. "What does that have to do with me?" Ethan sighed heavily. "I once thought Elara was still waiting for me. I believed that when I returned, she would choose me without hesitation. But during our week together, she kept looking at her phone. I knew she was waiting for your messages, but you never called, not even once. I guess when she came to see you, saying she wanted to call off the engagement, it was all just to provoke you. But you left so calmly, without trying to hold her back, without a word. You don't know, after you left, she truly went mad. That's when I realized that in the game of substitutes between you two, she was the one who actually fell in love." His voice dropped slightly. "When she learned you were with someone else, she even called your name in her sleep." I cut him off, frowning. "I don't want to hear anything else. I never had feelings for her, never. And she was the same. She just couldn't stand losing control in the relationship." With that, I hung up. Just before the wedding, Kyler Industries and Sutton Holdings simultaneously announced a massive strategic partnership, officially acquiring Sutton Group. It was only then that everyone realized that the Sutton family had a secret daughter who had been living abroad all these years. But instead of returning to fight for the family fortune, she and her mother chose to join forces for revenge. On the same day, social media buzzed with another topic, that Anna Sutton, the young director of Sutton Holdings, looked almost like a replica of Elara Sutton. And precisely at that moment, I announced that I would marry my first love, the girl I had loved since my youth. The wedding was set for the following day. That's when everyone finally realized that the mysterious female racer was indeed her. The girl who was thought to have died 3 years ago had now returned, and was the one I was about to marry. My father was overjoyed, laughing and saying, "You truly have foresight. You are indeed my son, even better than me." But on that very day, I returned home and told them, "From today on, I am cutting all ties with you both." I had once lacked the courage to do this, had tormented myself with guilt, believing they had given me life. Deep down, I still harbored the illusion that one day they would understand me. But coming into this world wasn't my choice. And since I was here, I would live as an independent person. When I was drowning in pain, falling again and again, they merely stood by, watching me struggle in a sea of despair without ever offering a hand. So, if I couldn't have that familial love, then I didn't need it anymore. Not everyone is born with parental love. And learning to accept that absence is also a part of growing up. As I left, for the first time in my life, I saw panic in their eyes. But by now, that had nothing to do with me. On our wedding day, Anna wore the wedding dress I had custom ordered for her so long ago. The dress fit her perfectly. She looked at me and softly asked, "How did you know I would come back?" I gently pinched her cheek, smiling. "I didn't know, but I always kept a place for the possibility that you would return." I wore the suit she herself had chosen, no longer the arrogant, impulsive youth I once was, but a mature man, calm and appreciative. I held her from behind, looking at our reflection in the mirror, my eyes stinging. "I've waited too long for this day." Anna turned, lightly kissing the corner of my mouth, then chuckled softly, trying to act tough. "How strong is the wind this time that your eyes are red like that?" Just those words, and my heart tightened. I had once imagined her saying those words to me at the foot of the mountain years ago, but then it was only an illusion. Now, that illusion had become real. What was once lost had finally returned. Fate truly had been too kind to me. I bent down and kissed her eyes, smiling softly. I'm just thinking about someone who always remembered me. Someone who will watch the spring rain, the summer breeze, the autumn leaves, and the winter snow with me. So even when I was alone, I kept walking unafraid, because I believed that at the end of every cliff, the wind would still blow, and the person I loved would be there, smiling and saying, "Hello, we meet again."